Check your mic.
Testing. How's that? Lovely.
That's perfect. Hello and welcome to Let Me Talk, the show where you talk and we listen. How are you doing, Miles?
Yeah, I'm well. It's good to see you.
Oh, it's good to see you too, man. I feel like I barely see you.
I know.
If I see you, it's like when I'm really busy and like walking around town and shit, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's good to like finally sit down and have a talk, you know?
I hear.
But you know, we come to you from a cold and rainy night in St Andrews. Man, I haven't spoken to anyone all fucking day. Like, I've been in the library like all day, but I haven't even spoken to like any of my flatmates. This feels so good to like finally use my voice, man.
Dude,
honestly.
at least you're dry, man. We had a frisbee game today in that weather. Like it was like 3 straight hours of just being in the cold and the wind and the rain, and it's just muddy as well, and like everything was wet and disgusting, and the walk home was the worst. At least you were dry, man. Like I'm on the other end of the spectrum.
Is that the one with you play with Kip, right?
Yeah, I do. Kip played really well today. Kip, shout out Kip if he's listening.
Kip's the MVP.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Now we've got a couple of topics we're going to talk about today, and as usual, I'm going to try and do my duty as a host and be neutral as possible. I'm without my co-host today, Tom, so I'm not going to be kept in check. So I'm going to try my best. That is to say, obviously, my questions come from a genuine place of interest rather than an opposing stance. So we're clear. Let's get to it. So, okay.
Yeah.
Stanley Kubrick, Chris Brown, Salvador Dali, Michael Jackson, Kanye West, Robert Burns, J.K. Rowling, Dave Chappelle. It's a variety of artists from like different times with one thing in common, and that's controversy.
Sure.
Okay? Each have created which has been deemed masterful in their respected crafts, but also are no stranger to vice. My question for you, my friend, this week is, can we separate art from the artist? What do you think?
So I want to preface this because I want to say that my opinions they come from a place that reflects like what I grew up, what I believe, and that is to say that when I talk and when I say what I believe, I just want to let people know that that's like my opinion and I'm not gonna like push it on other people. You know what I mean? Like, so what I'm going for when I answer this question is not some like objective how all people should consume art. It's more just like the way I think that art should be consumed and the way that I do subsequently. So like I can explain that, but obviously I'm not going to be like, this should be done this way by all people, or like all people should this, that, whatever.
Well, in order to do that, I guess it's important to like define your concept of art.
Right. So what I wanted to say is that, considering that, I don't think that I believe in a separation of art and artists. And now to sort of move on to how you define art, I think that's a way broad definition. I think there's a lot of stuff that can be considered art. That's a long like other conversation.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, like, I guess it's like really, really interesting you say that, because I think especially with a lot of these like really controversial like figures out there, like I just explained, like Kanye is a really big talking point right now,
right in the public eye too.
Low key, I've completely forgot, but I've got the shirt on right now. No, not a form of protest or anything, but I've got a Kanye t-shirt on. Yeah, sorry guys, don't cancel me. But I think it's interesting you talk about art not being separated from the artist, because someone like Kanye, I feel like my response to wearing the t-shirt and listening to the music is, I think you can, and I think it's easy to obviously like listen to it within the context of like what's currently happening with Kanye,
right?
But I think there's also something to be said for genuinely just listening and enjoying a piece of music and not really paying too much attention to everything else.
Okay,
if that makes sense.
Sure. I think you have a point. I think that there is definitely, and certainly, and I'm also guilty of it to a certain degree, there is merit to enjoying something in the abstract. I think that that's absolutely, like, you can go ahead and do that all you wish. I just find that in the world we live in today, the consumption of media is fundamentally intersectional, in that it is not just, when you consume media, you're not just consuming the media. As it may seem, I'm just going to listen to graduation.
Do you mean you're like consuming the context or surrounding this media, or like everything else in between?
More so that you're feeding the person who made it by consuming it, because frankly, like, no one's listening to physical copies anymore, right? It's a different situation if you buy a CD when you didn't know anything about the artist, and you pop it in, and the artist is not actively receiving compensation while you're playing the physical copy. Do you know what I mean? Like, playing a CD does not give streaming money to Kanye West. Like, if I go home and I put on my Kids See Ghosts record, because I have that and I bought it back when I was really into back when I was really into Ye. Like, I have a Kids See Ghosts record, and if I go home and I throw that on my record player and I put it on, like, I put it back afterwards, and I'm completely fine. Like, I have peace of mind because I know I'm enjoying the art, you know, out of context, and Kanye West is not receiving a dime he's not profiting off of my enjoyment of his art. However, when it comes to something so immediate and I would argue the most proliferated form of consumption of media these days, and that's digital streaming, I think that it is I would say it's impossible to separate the consumption of digital streaming art from supporting the actual artist. Because with every song, you're giving them a tenth of a cent. You know, like every time I listen to Graduation, you know, I'm paying Kanye $1, right? Like that's basically what's happening.
I mean, it's interesting that you kind of talk about that, but I feel like that's something more reserved for people that are aware of how the system works.
Okay.
I feel like the majority of people will listen to a song because they want to listen to a song. Like,
sure. Totally.
For example, like, I was listening to, like, I don't know, like a Chris Brown song, like last year, and I remember someone called me out for it.
Freaky Friday?
Like,
was it Freaky?
It might have been, yeah. But like, I was like, you know, she was like, yo, why are you listening to Chris Brown? Like, what's up? He's a cunt. I was like, honestly, that wasn't in my mind when I decided to press play.
Sure.
Do you know what I mean?
I totally hear.
I just think the song's catchy. I wasn't, like, internalizing the politics surrounding the song or anything like that.
Right.
So I think that's also interesting. Like, my next question is, like, does it mean that people consuming this art should be called out for liking it, or should be educated in some sort of way? What do you think?
Well, again, I'll reiterate what I said at the beginning, which is just that, like, this is the way I choose to consume art, and it's like not, like, I believe it, which means that, like, you know, I'm going to live by it, but I'm also not going to push that on other people. That being said, though, I think there is a sort of duty of education, but it's what do I want to say? It's condition specific, I think. Like, I think that there are situation specific, sorry. Like, when it comes to streaming stuff, I think that is, let me say this. Like I said before, I think if you have the physical copy, I think, you know, listening to that a whole bunch is not a big deal because you're not actively giving the artist money to then go in and let the artist, you know, use that money to go and, you know, further their beliefs or ideals. You know what I mean? When you listen to a physical copy, it's very different. So I think there's a degree of education when it comes to streaming that I don't think is necessarily necessary for physical copies. But since so many people stream these days, you know, I think that is almost analogous with educating people just when they listen to the song, if that makes sense.
So you think, like, do you feel like most people would feel differently if they understood, I guess, how that works and, like, how they're actually, like, funding this artist? Or they would feel differently if they knew this artist maybe didn't have that glamorous of a past? Does that make sense?
What do you mean?
So, like, I don't know, someone like you're saying Kanye, like, it seems like you're very, very, like, clued in into how he's making his money and where the streaming money comes from and stuff, and that's what you're talking about, like, you'd buy a physical copy or something like that. Do you think that if people were informed of that, they would stop listening in a certain way and go for one that less profits the artist?
See, I don't know, and it's also a slippery slope, and I'm gonna sort of play the other side here and talk about how artists make money, because so
I mean, you know yourself, right?
Yeah, I do. I'll tell you, the album that I've made has made $20 off of absolutely every play, period. Like, I've made $20.
Wow.
So it's nothing.
That's probably all my plays, by the
way. Yeah, and I was just going to say that when it comes down to it, like, no single person is obviously going to solve the problem by not listening to the music. And no small group of people is going to solve the problem, because streaming these days is so diluted, it's so oversaturated, that there is no amount of, like, okay, one person buying a physical copy is contributing more money to the artist than streaming is. Yeah. Just because, like, say, we'll talk My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, right? Because that's the shirt you have on. Say I want to stream MBDTF, like, all the way through, right? and then I want to go or do I want to buy a physical copy of it? The physical copy is $40. Now I'm going to bring this back to you. This album I made 2 years ago that I've been basically promoting to every single person I've ever met has made $20 over the course of 2 years, or everybody that's ever listened to it. And I'm by no means am I Kanye West, but with like when it comes to a single person listening to it, like by purchasing a physical copy once, it's very unlikely, unless you're a super fan, that you're going to make more money based on the streams rather than the physical copy itself. So it's definitely like sort of convoluted, and it's a weird and slippery slope.
But I mean, I guess that's because like the market is so like diluted these days, especially with like streaming, if that makes sense.
For sure.
I guess it's interesting that you talk about like art being like intertwined with the artist, because I guess a position of many people is that once they release song, painting, film into the world, it's essentially not their own anymore. It's up to public opinion,
right?
And it's sort of morphed, and it's not theirs. They're not holding on to it anymore, and it's everyone else's in a sense. So does that maybe mean that it's sort of like taken away from them and it's a separate entity of its own?
See,
do you see where I'm coming from?
So I see where you're coming from, and I would disagree with this, and I'm going to cite a Playboi Carti lyric, and I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it tastefully. So there's that lyric in R.I.P. where he says, I think this encapsulates it perfectly. Is that lyric in Rip where he says, bought my mama a crib off that mumbling shit. So when you when you release art, what you do is you let people consume it, right? At least in the modern epoch, what you're doing is, and when you release art, you are allowing people to consume it and then thereby supporting you. So like when you release it, I don't necessarily think that you're like giving it up, because fundamentally it's still working for you. Like your art is still working for you,
right?
You know, so like if I release Graduation right now and then go on in 8 years to say some wildly anti-Semitic shit, you know, people are going to be rationalizing my anti-Semitic shit and just defending me because I'm saying like, oh, you know, he made Graduation. You know, I listen to Graduation all the time. Graduation's one of my favorite albums ever, right? And I know I'm sort of zoning in on this Kanye example, but I feel well versed in it.
I mean, it's very relevant,
easy.
You know?
Yeah, relevant. It's easy. It's yeah. Anyways, so I think that still making money off of the things means that you're not necessarily giving this up to the public. It's not like no longer yours, because fundamentally you're supporting the artist financially by listening to them like on a streaming service, right? Like you're supporting the artist financially, which then, you know, if enough people do that, and obviously enough people have for someone as huge and like global as Kanye West, then they're going to basically be not incentivized. What's the word I'm looking for? Bankrolled, I guess, by the people listening to them. So, by the people listening to the art that they've put out. So, all that to say that I don't think that putting something out releases it and absolves the creator of their relation to it. I think the relation to it is still very much there, because, you know, people are buying into it, people are consuming it, and that gives the creator money. So the creator is making money off of what they've produced.
Do you think Kanye West's recent like controversies is completely ruined his career in terms of like streams and numbers? Do you think if he now releases another album, it'll tank? You think?
I'm sure of it. Yeah. I mean, look at his last release, right? A lot of people forget it, but the guy released Donda 2. Like, how much money has the guy made off of Donda 2?
It wasn't on streaming service, though.
I know. Yeah, because it was on the STEM player. He tried to, like, revitalize things, and it's just...
He tried to start a revolution, and people were like, no.
It did not work. Like, just based on that alone, like, people are not going to buy into that. Not to mention, he's lost $2 billion worth of partnerships, of sponsorships. I know, it's insane how quickly and easily you tank a legacy like that. It's fucking crazy.
The one thing I would say, though, is there has been arguments for it being more of a loss to Adidas, considering that they no longer have the Yeezus name, Yeezy name, right?
Okay.
And they're still willing to sell the silhouette of the trainer,
right?
But just under a new name.
Yeah.
And like,
I mean, that's what he was going off on all his Instagram rants, right? Like, he was like literally outing people, adding people, like dropping. Like, I think, did he drop an IP address? I don't know if he dropped. No, he dropped a house. He dropped a picture of the person's house. I think the bro doxed someone literally on his public Instagram.
I saw that. I remember when he went on
hats matter shit. Oh my god, man!
I remember he went on like a tangent or like a little rant. Like little picture rant, and he just exposed everyone in the Adidas like boardroom that was like basically like saying no to him. And he just fucking like exposed them all. I was like, holy shit! Like, I feel like he does the things, good or bad, but they've just literally never been fucking done before. Like, I don't think anyone has done on a scale, like, on a platform that he has.
Yeah.
Just exposed, like, a fucking board like that. That is honestly mind-blowing to me, that he has won the audacity maybe, or maybe just the bravery to be able to do that. Maybe that's testament to his, like, confidence of never being cancelled. And I suppose something like that, but I mean, it's not looking good, you know.
There's a Hunter S. Thompson quote. It says the only way to know the line is to go cross it, right?
Of course.
So now at this point, like, I appreciate to a certain extent the fact that he is standing up to, or was, you know, at the beginning, standing up to people who were using his designs without proper credit. There's a certain merit to that. You know, I think it's rather shallow, but I also do think there is some merit to him in the beginning, and then he went too far. He's crossed the line, and now lost $2 billion. I don't listen to his music anymore. I'm sure I'm not the only person who doesn't listen to his music anymore.
So that's like a choice that you've made, that you will not...
It is. At this point, like, the things that he said have impacted me and the people I love, and just the place where I come from is not a place that is, like, in any way tolerant of any sort of anti-Semitism, regardless of if the guy is a musical genius and managed to make Yeezus, you know?
Yeah. Can you, I guess, elaborate on... can you tell me what he said? Because I guess I didn't... I'm not going to say I didn't understand what he said, but it was more just like I saw the aftermath rather than... like what sparked it.
All right.
I guess if you're able to talk about that and like why it was problematic, that would probably help a lot of people that don't understand the context.
Okay. Well, I mean, to put it very simply, it's like obviously there's this the oldest conspiracy theory in the world, right? Is that, like, you know, Jews are like there's this like cabal of Jews that like run the world, right? Yeah. And it's like this global elite is this term that's often used and unfortunately conflated with Judaism. So there's this idea that he comes on to a whole bunch of talk shows and starts to say all these things about how, like, like, let's see all the managers for these contracts, like, and it's very much like, I don't like using the word coded because I don't know, I just don't, but like it feels very much like dog whistle towards anti-Semitism. Yeah. When it's like, oh, you know, there's global elite this and global elite that, and then eventually he just comes out and says it. He just comes out and says something like, you know, like, oh, you know, but I can't be canceled for saying these anti-Semitic things. Like, he admits that they're anti-Semitic because he's like, oh, because I am Jew. You know what I mean? And then he does this whole like this like Black Hebrew Israelite thing, which is not my thing. I don't really understand it, so I'm not going to talk on it very much. And then he's asked to apologize, and he doesn't reel back on the apologies. He doubles down. And like, I think recently he posted on his Instagram as well, was talking about all this stuff like, oh, you know, he like posted some like warped ass scripture verse, and it was something about like how God rewards those who are tested in his name or some crap like that. And it's just like, all right, man, like, give it up at this point. This is like, you're not apologizing for anti-Semitic remarks. You're doubling down like with like scripture verses, and you're saying some stuff like, oh, you know, they tried to cancel me. There is no coming back from this. Yeah. I mean, like, fundamentally, he is not the same person he was, and he'll never make something that will be as much of a cultural point, like a cultural landmark, as the things he's already created. Like, it's very clear this is if not the end, it is clearly the bottom half of his career. It is the last. You know, this is the end.
Does this cancellation not sort of overlook the great achievements for art and culture that he's made? Okay,
so in the abstract, I love Kanye's music. I will be so honest with you in saying that a lot of my high school years, and to a certain extent like early uni, you know, I like music a lot, and one of the big things that got me into, you know, hip hop and that side of music as well was, you know, sort of the fusion that Kanye and Kid Cudi did, and the experimentation that Kanye and Cudi did around like 2018 with like Kids See Ghosts and Ye, right? Like songs like Ghost Town and Fire, like, really sort of blew my mind that, like, oh shit, there is an intersection in these things. And that was kind of my gateway from like more like instrumental live rock music into like rap. And now I'm a huge rap head. Like, I love hip hop, I love rap, and then from there I kind of branched off into the rest of Kanye's discography. So to a certain extent, I love Kanye's music, and I owe it a debt of gratitude to my music literacy. Like, I love a lot of the music I do because it's tied to Kanye in some way, and like I owe a lot to that. But I think there's a degree of growing up that I've had to do and sort of leaving that behind because, like, yes, I love it in the abstract, but the way that I find myself consuming media, and frankly the way that most of the world consumes media, does not allow for a separation of art and artist. So I don't find myself listening to a lot of Kanye anymore, unfortunately. And I love the stuff, which is really sad. So,
well said. I think we're going to go for our first break.
Sounds good.
Unfortunately, I have no idea how the music works. If I did, I would have taken a request from you.
Yeah.
We usually do that.
Oh, shoot. Sorry about that.
And, like, of course, you're probably one of the best people to ask a music request from, because you could have put someone on here. Like, you could have put anyone on mute, you know? Oh, wow. But, I mean, we've got a pretty decent track to start us off with.
Yeah, what is it?
Yeah,
what is it?
It's Playboy Carti, Stop Breathing. We'll see you guys after the break. So I probably should have checked. Wait. Is this going to play?
Let's find out.
Right.
Testing.
That was working. Wait.
Alright, I'll tell jokes. How about that? If we're stalling, I'll tell jokes. Alright.
Go on, tell a joke.
What do you call a fish with no eyes, Calum?
Well, what do I call a fish with no eyes? What do I call a fish with eyes?
Psh.
Fuck off.
What do you call a deer with no eyes?
No idea. I fucking knew that one.
I'm running out of material. How do you make a clown cry?
How do I make a clown cry? I don't know.
You kill its family. I'm really running out of ideas.
Do you want to know what my favorite Halloween joke was?
What is it? Hit me.
So I used to have like a really vulgar one, at least for the time.
Sweet.
And it was, what do you call a dinosaur after a good night out?
You
actually just after a good night.
After a good night. I don't know. What do you call a dinosaur after a good night?
Megasaurus.
That's really good. I'm gonna use that. Bro, that's fucking amazing.
I was like, I don't know how fucking young I was when I was using that.
That's beautiful.
But like, that's probably the reason why I got like no sweets when I was younger. Like going trick or treating, like they were just so
shit.
They
caught on, man. They knew.
But yeah. Fuck, what were we talking about before the break? It was actually really interesting.
We were
talking about Carti, weren't we? Carti, right?
Oh, Playboy Carti.
I really want to get into this actually because I was listening to Carti, right?
Yes.
And we talked about Carti before, at least the last couple of times that I've seen you, and I've been talking with my roommate.
Jack.
And
Shout out Jack.
Yeah, shout out Jack. But he just doesn't get it.
Damn.
He just doesn't get it, and it's really funny. Because I'll be talking to someone about Carti, if it's you or someone else, and he'll just go like, yeah, I just think it's really shit. Like, I just don't get it. And he's like, yeah, he mumbles all the time. I can't understand what he's saying. Mm-hmm. But I think me and you both think there's merit to that.
I do.
And I guess if you can elaborate on why there is merit to that.
Hell yeah. Awesome. Okay, so this is something I do genuinely feel pretty passionate about because I was one of the first, like, I don't want to say I was one of the first. That sounds really pretentious. But, like, I was listening to, like, Ski Mask and, like, Lil Pump and X and like Rich Brian and all those people back when they were like still new on SoundCloud, you know what I mean? Like I was tapped in at that point, and like for that, like I will always have a soft spot in my heart for I guess what's called mumble rap. Frankly, like the way I see mumble rap is I see it as it's kind of like it's minimalist, right?
Where does it come from though?
Where does it come? I have no idea about like the history of where it comes from. Probably ease, I would probably suggest, because I'm not gonna lie to you, like however fun it is to listen to, like it's not hard to make. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
What you do is you pay a producer to spend 3 hours, 3 good hours on a beat, and they bring it to you, and you just like one track is ad libs, and the other thing is like it's very formulaic. Like, I won't lie to you, but that doesn't mean it's not great, because formulas are formulas for a reason, and it's because they work. Yeah. So it's very obvious that like the general populace enjoys it, right? I mean, like Playboy Carti has like a couple of #1 albums. Like right now, or I guess right now is Taylor Swift, but like right before Taylor Swift, I think it was it Youngboy who dropped an album? Someone, maybe it was Youngboy, maybe it was Gunna. It was maybe it was Lil Baby actually. I think Lil Baby sounds Baby, right? Didn't that just recently happen?
Yeah, Gunna did have a #1 album with DS Forever though.
DS4, okay, yeah, but that was like a while ago.
It was a while ago.
Yeah,
but NBA Youngboy has been like a chart killer for a while, and I don't understand it. But yeah, he has.
He's made so much in 2022. I think he's actually on album 4 just on this year alone.
That's too much, man. That's just it's diluting.
It's I mean? For certain people, I think it is too much. NBA Youngboy, I don't think anybody needs that much Youngboy music. I can't lie to you.
Oh, neither. Honestly.
Yeah. Anyways, I was going to use those all as examples to show that the general populace enjoys it. Like it's not without an audience, very clearly. But I think the rationalization for me comes from it's like candy, I guess. You know, I feel like it's like candy in the sense that it scratches an itch in your brain. It's very short-lived. You know, all the songs are short. There's not a lot of depth to them, with the exception of like a few songs that I think all are on Rodeo by Travis Scott. I think every trap song is generally just like very straightforward and formulaic. Again, the exception is obviously a couple of songs on Rodeo. Like I think Nightcrawler is probably the greatest trap song of all time in my opinion.
What do you think?
Oh my god,
interesting one.
When the beat cuts out, and I think it's Sway Lee who's like "Freaks come out at night." that part kills me. And then it's like the beat comes back up, but it doesn't come back up. It's like, and then he's like, "Someone kill the light." That's greatest trap song ever in my opinion.
I've got a question to ask you.
Yeah, go. Might as well. Yeah.
So last week we had a couple of music producers on.
Hit me. Yeah.
RNAQ, and we had Prince. He's a rapper. He's from St Andrews. But it was very interesting the way that they talked about music, and the way that they consumed music. And basically, what RNAQ said was that he listens. He doesn't actually enjoy the song when he first listens to it, because he listens to like. He sees it in like a producer sense.
Sure.
So he'll look at like the BPM and be like, oh, what song will this transition into? What can I do with this?
Oh, that's very interesting.
The drums,
like a DJ mindset.
Do you know what I mean?
Look, it's very like utilitarian. It's like how can I use this rather than like how can I appreciate it? That's interesting. Okay.
I guess he looks at it in like a more abstract form, where he pulls apart the song.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I like that kind of vocal switch there, that like the highs and the lows and like the bass line here type shit. Like,
so not seeing it as like a full song, but like a sum of a lot of parts.
Well, because like it's almost like he's a mechanic going into the song, and taking out the bits that he likes, and then he's gonna later on go on his computer and try and like emulate that.
Yeah. Okay.
If that makes sense.
I did. Yeah. Totally. I that's a very interesting way to listen to music. I don't think I do it the same way, but there's definitely, I got a lot of respect for people who can listen to music in that sort of like utilitarian sense. Like, how do I use this? Yeah.
He also says, well, I've heard a lot of people say this as well. It's that they don't listen to the lyrics for the first listen.
Yeah,
and that's imperative because someone put it to me like, music is essentially just sound waves hitting your ear, right? So it's not essentially words; it's just sound waves, and it's whether or not you enjoy those sound waves or not.
Yeah.
So it's important to listen to like a song as just a collective sound for 2.5 minutes.
Interesting.
And then like add in the lyrics.
Yeah, I mean, I think there are some artists that I do listen to the lyrics the first time I listen to the song, just because that's their whole brand, right? But I think that's like rather the exception than the rule. Like every time I listen to a Taylor Swift album, like I'm not listening to a Taylor Swift album for like the shitty half-ass like pop country in the background. Like, nah, I'm not listening to Red Taylor's version. I'm not listening to like an All Too Well 10. I'm not listening to 10 minutes of All Too Well for the repetitive guitar line underneath Taylor Swift. Like I'm listening for the digs on Jake Gyllenhaal, bro. Like that's what I want. Like I'm there for the tea and for the interesting lyricism. And again, I think the same is true of like a Kendrick album. Like I was not listening to Mr. Morale for like the beats, because again, like I really appreciate Kendrick's production, but like ever since Damn, you know, it has not been about the music, it's been about the rap, right? So you know, I think that's another thing I listen to. I listen to him for the music. Joey Badass, obviously. He's just heavy lyricism on that guy. Fucking beast. And you know, like they're not necessarily making new stuff anymore, but like, you know, older songwriters, like if I discover a new Bob Dylan album, because God knows there are like 8 million Bob Dylan albums out there, I have not listened to them all. Every time I'm listening to a new Bob Dylan album, it's like, oh shit, you know, this guy's lyricism is fucking genius. You know, Tom Waits, when I discover like an old Tom Waits song that I like haven't discovered yet. Same thing with like Jeff Buckley, Elliott Smith, like Nick Drake, those songwriters who are like legitimately songwriters, more than they are musicians, I think are lyrics the first time. But I think a lot of new music, I think you're totally right. It's just sound waves for 2.5 minutes.
What do you think about the idea that mumble rap can't be albumized? Or
Can't be.
Mumble rap is like a pretty informal way to describe trap, because it's essentially trap music, right?
I think trap is probably the way to go. Yeah.
Trap music. So
mumble rap always felt to me like nobody who enjoyed trap called it mumble rap.
It's derogatory,
you know what I mean?
right?
It feels derogatory.
Yeah. But I guess like there is like a, I'm not going to say age-old saying, but like there is a kind of general consensus that with trap music comes great singles, but
And
lackluster
difficult albums. Yeah.
Is there, I guess, a diamond in the rough there?
Oh, of course. Rodeo, dude.
Rodeo?
Let's
talk about Rodeo.
Rodeo. Oh, God, I love Rodeo.
Why do you love Rodeo?
I also love Whole Lotta Red, by the way. I was going to say, because I think that album kills, man. It's like, well, we can talk about Rodeo first, but I just want to sneak this thing in about Whole Lotta Red. And Whole Lotta Red works as an album because, like, it was the first to really pioneer, like, the new genre of trap. And I'm not talking about, like, what Yeet and Summers are doing. I'm talking about, like...
Punk trap.
Nah, I guess. Punk trap is like that's an interesting way to put it. I don't think that's right, because I think people like X and Ski Mask were really punk trap. Yeah, Lil Peep is more like emo, but yeah, in the same sort of ilk. I was thinking punk trap is more like what X and Ski Mask and Rich Brian were doing in like 2018, 2019, right before they all sort of transitioned into huge pop. But no, I'm talking like what Trippy did on his newest album. I like to call it like rage, just because I don't know what else it's supposed to call it. But it's all those beats that are made by the Wake Up Filthy guy, and it's like
I think it's hyper pop.
Not hyper pop. Hyper pop is different. Hyper pop is like 100 gex.
Right.
Yeah. So that's like it's close, and it's but it's not the same thing. I'd probably call it closer to like PC music, and just like the stuff that's coming out of people like Arca or Sophie, rather than someone like, Dylan Brady or like Fraxium. You know what I mean? Like these people, like Dylan Brady and Fraxium are making a certain type of music that's very much like, and then when you listen to a Whole Lotta Red, you're hearing something that's like, you know what I mean? So that I like to call that rage. I don't know if that's actually like a name for the genre or whatever, but like I feel like that's the first album that really did it. And then following that, like you heard Yeet on a lot of those beats in his early career. Like Sorry About That is definitely one of those.
Of course, yeah.
That's definitely like a type of thing. And then Trippy's entire album, Trip at Night, I think is very much influenced by that. Like you can hear it on songs like the official version that got released of Danny Phantom with X, MP5 with Sofago. I forget what that one song is with Drake, but like you can very much hear that there's a style that comes out a Whole Lotta Red. So for that, like I appreciate the album. Well,
I guess now we're seeing its impact, but initially when it came out,
bro, there
was an awful response.
I was in the trenches defending this album on December 25th, 2020.
Everywhere.
I know, bro.
About how shit it was.
I lived through it.
I guess that just like adds more like myth to the whole story of Whole Lotta Red, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
The fact that it was so trashed when it came out.
I don't think it was trash, bro.
Well, it was trashed.
Trashed, yeah.
It was
sure.
trashed.
It definitely
was like, in the same bracket as like an 808s and Heartbreak.
Oh yeah.
And the fact that no one got it when
Mm-hmm.
it first came out. I think I guess what do you have to say about that? Is there something in there that like does that make it great, the fact that it went from this such hated piece of art to now everyone is suddenly like championing it?
So this is an interesting question, because I think that we are reminded of the saying that no press is bad press. So if you have mixed reactions to an album, which is fundamentally this album is like the apotheosis of like mixed album reviews. You had people like me in subreddits literally fighting for their life about why this was a great album, and then you had other people like the 80 people I was defending at any given time on December 25th, 2020 that didn't like it. So the fact that there was like such a polarized reaction to it, I think then sort of sparks the idea in the positive. Okay, so there were people for it and people against it. I think
people didn't like it though?
Because it was new and it was different. Fundamentally, I think that's got to be what it is. Now there are a million Cardi clones out there. There are a million people making with that type of production. But like, there was nothing before it. There is music before A Whole Lotta Red, Actually, I should say there was trap music before A Whole Lot of Red, and there was trap music after A Whole Lot of Red.
I think something like Die Lit embodies like that era before Whole Lot of Red, that kind of trap music. I guess in your eyes they both embody like a different type of trap music.
I think so.
Whole Lot of Red and Die Lit.
Mm-hmm.
I guess how would you distinguish the two, and how would you define both? Like how are they different, and are they both good in their own right? And how does
absolutely.
that work?
They are both good in their own right. I think that Die Lit is definitely more like dreamy. Do you know what I mean? Like it's very much more like cloud rap adjacent, you know what I mean? And I'm not talking like full cloud rap, like I'm not talking like Lil B or like even like early Blade and Echo 2K. Like I'm talking about like it's like whatever fusion of that sort of purist stuff is with the mainstream, and that's Die Lit. Because you listen to something like Flatbed Freestyle and it's like, you know what I mean, like that, it blows your mind. KOD home KOD is like that beat is so ethereal. And Lean for Real is another one of those. It's literally a choir singing. Like that beat is literally angelic. It's haunted, mate. It is. That's a perfect word to describe it. It's haunting, and you have none of that on Whole Lot of Red because he's taking an entirely different step. So I think that Cardi, with his first album, like self-titled, I think he's just trying to be trap and trying to be straightforward. I think Die Lit, he dips his toes into cloud rap, into something a lot more ethereal. And then I think with Whole Lot of Red, he comes back with a vengeance and is now trying to dip his toes into something a lot harder. So for that reason, and I think that generally trap is at the point in its career where it's like go big or go home. Like there's so much oversaturation in this genre at this point that like everybody has seen everything up until like so I should say everybody has seen everything, so when something new drops it's like an event. And I think what Playboi Carti was doing with Whole Lot of Red is an event. And I think a lot of people, again, because it was polarizing, the people pro Whole Lot of Red are going to come back and listen to it to prove that they're right, and they're going to be like, wow, I actually enjoy this, A, and B, like so many people are naysaying it, like maybe I'm wrong, and then listen to it, and then there's a lot more streams. And then I think the naysayers are going to go back and be like, well, there must be something to this. Like I know I don't like it, but maybe I just don't get it yet, and they're just going to keep streaming it until they do, and then until they like Stockholm syndrome themselves and like this album.
Honestly so interesting you talk about it as being like an event.
Sure.
I think I mean I don't know about anyone else, but I guess like anyone that's in this kind of culture will agree with you, and the fact that it just was everywhere when it came out.
It was. It still is. I mean, you still hear every third TikTok is with an audio from that album.
Playboi Carti has taken over TikTok.
No question.
His music is completely underrated in terms of its like mainstream appeal.
Because you think so?
I think so, because you say the name Playboi Carti to a lot of people and they probably won't know who he is. But if you sing one of his songs, or if you have one of his like slowed and reverb songs on play, people are like, where have I heard that from? Where have I heard? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like people know his shit, man. He's like influential as fuck, I think. Like he's a pioneer.
I would probably say that I think it's probably the case here, like in the UK. I think there's like not just a lot of like widespread appeal, but definitely if you go back into the States, into like any suburban area, you will, or any urban area or suburban area, you will get a response to Playboi Carti. Like people will know who he is. He's a household name back in America. Like I know that to be the case.
He's headlining tours and everything. So
man, it's crazy. A bunch of basically my whole town. There was a huge COVID outbreak in my town just because so many people went to a Carti concert and came back with COVID. Yeah, swear. There was like a whole thing. Like none of us could go out for like the 2 of the 4 weeks we had. Last winter break because there was a Carti concert in town. And
well, it's definitely
everyone
clear,
knows
like,
it and everyone went. So.
It's clear like he's like really, really loved, and he is obviously like very like influential. But I guess what would you say to the people that don't see that, or like think that his music or trap, mumble, whatever you want to call it, has no merit simply because it's mumbling?
Yeah,
or it's different.
Well, I'd probably try to catch these people, because a lot of these people that sort of don't like mumble rap will then go home and listen to like Led Zeppelin. You know what I mean? And like I love Led Zeppelin, but the first 80 times you listen to the intro of Black Dog, you don't know what the fuck the guy is saying. I mean, like, hey mom, it's like, and it's just like all that sort of stuff. Like obviously you don't know what the damn guy is saying. Like the issue is you listen to music where the singer is being unintelligible. Like there is already a group. I should say there is already music that these people enjoy that is effectively mumble. You know what I mean?
So does that imply that music is more about the feeling that it creates?
That's a good question. That's a good question.
Rather than the content it provides.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I think so. I think for the vast majority of people, and I think this wraps around to our first bit. For the vast majority of people, you know, they're not looking to critically think about this piece of music that they're listening to. They're not looking to evaluate whether or not this is moral, you know, whether they're supporting someone who sucks. They're not looking to, deeply analyze these Taylor Swift lyrics, you know. They're just looking to have a good time. And they're just looking to listen to this Chris Brown song like, dude, I'm trying to listen to Ignition. Bro, that shit is fire. I love that song, bro. But I just don't, because, you know, R. Kelly's a horrible person. But I think the vast majority of people would just be like, for the vibes, man. Go ahead, play some. Mm-hmm. You know? And I think that really ties it all in a bow, because it's like a lot of people are way more focused on the sound and the feel that the music brings, rather than the the context behind it, the reasoning, the methods, you know, all that critical thinking shit is out the window. People just want to have a good time.
I think what you've just said there, you've perfectly described another album that we should talk about.
Oh boy,
it's Travis Scott's Rodeo.
Yes,
right?
sir. Here we go. Okay.
I think, in my opinion, what makes this album so special is the fact that Trap was in a stage in 2015 where it was like just straight bangers, and no cohesive albums. Like, I guess apart from like DS2. Something like Future, Dirty Spy, right?
Like Jeffrey. Oh,
yeah, Jeffrey.
Love that man.
But like,
I guess I don't love that man.
yeah. But like our artists, I guess, like I'm thinking like Migos. I'm thinking Chief Keef.
Yeah.
Trap was in a stage where it was
Takeoff, man.
Yeah, rest in peace, Takeoff. Yeah, that was awful news.
Absolutely
but yeah, like I guess Trap in that era was in a stage where
in its infancy.
It was in its infancy. You're right, but no one had managed to crack the code.
Yeah,
and I think that's what's so interesting about Travis Scott's Rodeo. And I think my next question is, how did he crack that code?
Shoot, man, I don't know anything about the making of the album. I'm not tapped in on Travis Scott as much as I should be, but I just know that I love that album. Like, it is absolutely phenomenal, and there's no question that it was groundbreaker. Like, that album produced so many, like, not just like bangers. Like, you have bangers on that album, but you also have like more complex, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, sophisticated songs that use the trap medium, the trap formula. Like 90210. Like, yes, now it gets played at parties, but like when it dropped, like that shit was like, fuck, I gotta think about this beat switch, man. Like, why are there guitars in this song, bro? Like, what? When you listen to something like Piss on Your Grave, like the beat switch there, between that, like the most, like the dirtiest guitar of all fucking time, like Mike Dean is just shredding your ears off with like, wow, 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 and then just Kanye going, yow, yow, with like some like beat that sounds like it's submerged underwater. Fucking Pornography makes you, it's just like one of those Journey songs that takes you through something. And I just don't think that like the same can be said about any trap album since. Like, I think that you're right in that it was so early that it not only managed to crack the code but also set the standard. And I think since then it's been like, I don't want to say it's been a constant decline in quality, but you know, nothing has reached that point. Like,
I completely agree with you. I don't think anything has matched its complexity in terms of production and its immersiveness. Also, its level of experimentation is ridiculous. Like, I look at an album like Rodeo, and I don't see any intended singles. I don't see any 2.5-minute songs that were
manufactured.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I'm gonna look at the track list actually right now, just to sort of see if I agree with you, because my gut tells me that I agree with you, but I'm also like, I have to think for a sec. So I totally
maybe Antidote.
Definitely Antidote. Antidote got played at every party.
That's true.
Definitely Antidote. I think, I forgot all about that song.
I think, I guess my personal favorite on Rodeo is Maria, I'm Drunk.
Oh, Justin Bieber is so good on that song.
I know if Jack's listening right now, he's going to be like kicking himself, because I talk about this song all the fucking time. I think it might be my favorite song of all time.
Really? Wow.
I don't know what it is, but there's just something about the song that feels like you're just traveling into like another dimension type shit. Like,
yeah, absolutely.
The transition, like a minute in, is ridiculous. And Justin Bieber has like a career verse.
Oh yeah,
on that song.
That guy kills.
It's crazy. And then Young Thug does his thing as well. But there's just something about, like, when that transition happens, like the dark piano keys sort of echoing off.
Yeah.
It just puts you at ease and just allows you to kind of just like let the song take you places.
Yeah.
You know?
I always love listening to people talk about their favorite songs. It's such a wonderful like way to get to know someone until, because I know you, but it's also like it's like I'm looking into something, you know? Like I love the way people describe their favorite songs.
There you go.
It's a wonderful idea.
It's the best way to get vulnerable is talk about your favorite music.
Yes, sir. I can attest to that, definitely.
It's absolutely my favorite song, up there with Reborn, I think.
That's one of those songs, man.
I was watching like a video essay the other day about Reborn and Could See Ghosts, and the essayist attributed keep moving forward to Finding Dory, just keep swimming. Like, just keep swimming.
Yeah.
Just,
sure.
Because I guess it is the same message,
same
you know?
thing, yeah,
it's the same message. Is there anything you'd like to talk about in terms of Kids See Ghosts and that? I mean, specifically Reborn, because that's a very important track to me, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on it.
Yeah, I mean, I love Reborn. Personally, Reborn is probably like in the middle of that track ranking for me, which I know is like a blasphemous thing to say. I know, but hear me out. So while I love the song, don't get me wrong, I love a lot of the other songs a lot more, because like I said earlier in the talk show, you know, like a lot of that album helped me move from rock to more like hip hop and like electronic music. So I have a greater appreciation for songs like Fire, for songs like Feel the Love, you know what I mean? Like those more energetic, like hyped up bangers, I guess, for lack of a better word.
What do you think about is it Cuddy Montage?
Cuddy Montage is
Kurt
great.
Cobain song.
Yeah, it does. It's from what is it? Fire. It's like
it's from
Set
one of
the
his...
Rain on Fire. It's like something like that. But
it's his solo work.
It's
right?
from Montage of Heck, which is his album that came out. He didn't actually make the album. It was posthumous. After his death, it came out as sort of an accompaniment to the documentary that came out of the same name, the eponymous documentary. And there are some songs on there that are really, really cool and really well fleshed out. Like this one, the one that gets sampled on Cuddy Montage. And for that reason, I have a lot of respect for Cuddy for that. That song is beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful song. But like, you know, also there are songs on that Montage of Heck album. There's one, I don't know if you ever heard like I Like Beans, but it's literally just Kurt Cobain with a guitar going, beans, I like beans. So it's like, you can't really take that album seriously.
Yeah.
But you know what you can take seriously is Kids See Ghosts, because god damn, that's a great album.
I think Kids See Ghosts is probably like the example of the accumulative efforts of Kid Cudi and Kanye West. Like that's what they can achieve when they put their mind towards something.
Yeah, and I also find myself still listening to it because like Cudi has cut ties with Kanye, so to a certain extent, like I'm there for him. You know, I'm not there for
me too. Yeah, I would say though, I find it very interesting. Kid Cudi is someone that I really, really like, and I'm going to see him soon.
Yeah, in London,
very
right?
excited in
next,
London
next week.
Next week.
That's pretty cool.
And I guess there is sort of like. I'm not going to say controversy, but there is a talking point when it comes to Kid Cudi and the fact that people think that his solo work pales in comparison to when he's matched with...
I so disagree, man. I love Speedin' Bullet to Heaven. Like, I can't lie.
Oh my god, that's the most controversial track.
I know, bro. I wish we had more time to talk about it. Like, Adventures, god, I love that song. I really do love that song.
Yo, can we try and get... I need to ask these people if they know how to download, because I really want this. This is such a good episode.
Henny. That's my boy. We could talk to him. Yeah, for sure.
Can you wave him? Bring him in. We've got another guest coming in. Let me talk radio.
Hell yeah.
We know this guy.
Yo, you guys can come in. Also, are you guys tech trained?
Yeah, thankfully.
Do you know how to download an episode?
You'll get sent a link afterwards.
Get sent a link afterwards.
It's like called the Star Robot.
Right.
And then it just sends you a link, and then the link should have your time.
I'm a guest.
So like, how long do we have
You've got 2 weeks from when it gets sent to you.
Oh, thank fuck. I was shitting myself because like Tom's not here to like tech train. He's seen Kendrick tonight. So
shit.
yeah, that's
Very nice, very nice.
Yeah, the mics are on if you guys want to sit down and talk.
I don't know how much
It's
time
up
do
to
we
you.
have.
We've got 10 minutes, so
10
like
minutes. Gotcha.
we can like leave.
We can come upload our shit.
Very nice.
Fair
Very
enough.
nice.
But yeah, we're sitting here. We're talking about music, Kanye
Everyone does.
West,
Yeah.
controversy,
Yeah.
all that stuff.
So that's that's.
But yeah, I mean, what were you saying about Kid Cudi and his solo work?
I don't know,
Speeding Bit to Heaven. It's a
It's a controversial
interesting
opinion.
take. You know?
I know. After the scalding Fantano review,
Oh,
a
the
lot
zero.
of people, the zero.
I mean,
yeah.
because Fantano took him from a 0 to the 10 with.
I know. That's why
Yeah.
there was that whole meme about how Kid Cudi's the only person to receive both a 0 and a 10 from Anthony
It's crazy.
Fantano. Yeah. No, I think that it's a grower, and I think that he's trying to do something there. It's a lot like Whole Lotta Red, which I think would probably get me stoned in certain circles if I said something like that. But like I would be publicly executed and hanged if I said some shit like that to certain people. But I think that it performs the same function in that it is taking something. It's taking a genre and then fusing it with another genre in an exceedingly creative way. I love the song Adventures. Like I think it's really like a serious banger. Because I think that Kid Cudi knows what he's doing when it comes to like experimental rock. I don't know if you're familiar with Wizard. Do you know Wizard?
Wizard, of course, yeah.
Wizard is lovely. So
Teleport to Me, Afflictum.
yeah,
Those 2 songs I know. pretty well.
what's the one Wizard song I liked so much? Where Did You Sleep Last Night? It's a cool cover. Love Fast. I like Love Fast. That's a fun song. Or no, Love Hard. Is it Love Hard?
Hard?
It's either Love Hard or Love Fast. I'm gonna Google it right now. But whatever
I
the
feel like
case,
such a fraud that I don't know these songs. I'm like
it's
supposed
Wizard.
to be the biggest
Love Hard
Cudi fan.
So Love Hard is great. Wizard it's Wizard. Nobody fucking listens to Wizard.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, Teleport to Me, Jamie is like
it's beautiful.
it's different.
Yeah, it is. It's very different. And all this to say that I do believe that Cudi has the rock chops to be able to create something that is not only new and boundary pushing, but also like listenable. And I think a lot of people would argue that Speed Bolt to Heaven is not listenable, but I think that I think you just have to try a little harder. I think you have to actually be critical about it.
There is
in
a
way
couple
that
of songs on there, Speed and Built to Heaven.
Yeah.
I mean, like self-titled.
Yeah. I
It's
love
ridiculous.
Speed Bolt to Heaven. The song is amazing.
The song is crazy, and then Confused as well.
I'm less familiar with that one. I won't lie.
Confused, you should listen to it because
Okay.
that's got like really good rock riff throughout.
Sure.
And I guess like what he's talking about is also very, very important. I guess if you've not seen the documentary, he talks about Confused a lot.
Yeah. Edge of the Earth and Judgmental Cunt are 2 of the. I fucking love those songs. Sorry, I just to interrupt. I love that album.
I think
Keep talking.
it's interesting that you pick out Speed and Bullet to Heaven, especially because that was like a time in his life where
Yeah.
he was just like off the
At the-
rails.
at the low,
he was
right,
at the lowest point of his life, and you can see that through his music. There's literally no hope
I know.
in the whole album.
Yeah.
It's dark, it's moody, and then Confused kind of like sums that all up for me. Like I'm pretty sure the first the first line is "I might go losing it and jump off a cliff." Like
Yeah.
that's literally the first line in the fucking song.
Yeah.
and it's so catchy, and that's
I know,
that comes
man.
back to what we were talking about, like not listening to the lyrics.
Yeah.
because I can listen to that song and like enjoy it and feel happiness when I'm listening to
Yeah,
that
exactly.
song. I feel
Despite
happiness.
the fact that it's so.
I feel happiness in
ugh.
someone's pain and torment. That's what's so interesting.
When you put it that way, I mean, shit.
I'm
Are
like,
you all right? Real quick question: Are you a Paramore fan at all?
Paramore fan? I'm unfamiliar.
All right, so do you know Misery Business?
Misery
A
Business.
song that's like, I'm in the business of misery. Let's take it from the top. She's got a body like an hourglass, is ticking like a clock.
Maybe it sounds
Whoa, I
familiar.
never meant to brag, 'cause I got it where I want it now.
Maybe.
All right,
I'm gonna say maybe. I'm gonna say maybe.
It's just they're a band that I think are very interesting in that they are the absolute masters of making like the most depressing shit you've ever heard with like the most catchy pop beats behind it. Like it's really gorgeous music that is so danceable, but the lyrics are literally like, if the first cut wasn't deep enough, I dove in again because I'm not into giving up. You know,
Yeah.
like that's an actual lyric from a song, and it is so depressing when you read it on its own, and then when you listen to it, it's like, if the first cut wasn't deep enough. It's like, damn, I want to fucking dance.
Well, it's like that song "I Took a Pill in Ibiza."
What is that, Mike Posner?
Yeah, because
it's
like the
Mike
OG
Posner.
version was like just him and a guitar, and it
Yeah.
was just like, I took a pill in Ibiza, and he's like
Sure,
just
DJ
talking
was
about
cool.
how like, you know, like and overindulgence is like toxic.
Oh yeah.
But the song ended up becoming a club banger, and everyone's just like.
I still hear it played sometimes.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's very interesting. Like we've just gone full circle and talked about like how lyrics basically, or for the most part, don't mean shit.
Yeah, there you go.
No, but it's honestly been really, really good to talk to you.
Yeah, I love
being
being
a really
here,
good time.
Thank you.
We have a couple of people that are staring at us now, so we will get finished soon. It's been Let Me Talk. Good night. This is Calum Mayer without my host Tom, which is unlucky. He's seen Kendrick tonight. But thank you very much, Miles.
Thank you again, man. I really appreciate this.
Thank you, and good night.
Have a good night.